What's up, guys? Welcome to the main stage here, our second matchup of the day. One we definitely want to see 3 games of in this best out of 3. I'm joined with Hotshot GG from Team CLG and Alex Ish from Moscow 5. I'm just going to start here. You guys were not playing in the last matches, just hanging out at the PCs. What do you do during this downtime to prep yourselves?
We do a lot of 1v1s, and then we just analyze what other people are doing in their games.
And what are you guys doing? Are you prepping? Are you watching the matches as you may go on to beat CLG and face Dignitas as well?
We configured our sound. We were watching Dignitas versus AAA, maybe catching some ideas, and we're just preparing. Looked some pics of CLG of the previous games.
All right, now I know you guys are really excited to be in this matchup against All Authority, now widely known for having that matchup to beat Moscow 5. Have you taken anything from that playbook?
We kind of studied, and we have a little bit going for us in terms of what AA do. So, yeah.
And same for you guys. Have you been watching CLG over the week? Have you been understanding and studying what they've been doing with that early jungle?
Yeah, we studied that, and we will try to counter that.
All right, well, guys, let's get a good handshake in here. Hope to see a best of 3. Let's hear it for these 2 teams, CLG and Moscow 5, about to go head-to-head. Your second semifinal matchup of the day here at the IEM World Championship. Back to D-Man and Freak in the casting booth.
Yeah, what a game this is going to be. I tell you what, I'm excited about this one.
Oh,
even yesterday when we realized this is going to be CLG versus Moscow 5.
Oh, yes.
CLG versus Moscow 5. Oh, wow. And, you know, even when we were in Kiev, we were like, oh, you know, I wonder what would happen if, even obviously CLG EU as well, they're in attendance.
Sure.
They're watching this one. They're going to be like, well, and don't forget, they, like I mentioned earlier, they're going to give them tips. They're going to be saying, look, okay, this is what you got to do. This is how you're going to do it. The question is how much they take on board.
Yeah.
However, every time CLG turn up and Big Fat LP is playing well, they win things.
It's true.
And he is playing very well.
Although, to be fair, the last time they won anything at IEM was Big Fat LP wasn't there and Salsi took his spot. So, I mean, that said, if there's a limit plays well, and of course Salsi did there, they did win IEM Gamescom in Cologne. So, you know, I guess you've kind of got the same thing here where Big Fat LP, again, you know, putting up great numbers. Again, less than a death per game, 247 minions a game. So he's farming about as well as Alex Ish is. And that can really kind of go a lot of different ways here. Hotshot's been playing phenomenally, and actually, you know, St. Vish is also putting up really impressive numbers as well. He's actually the only jungler of any of the playoff teams to outkill anyone more than just their support. Of course, he supports tend to get less than a kill per game, but St. Vish is actually out-killing Hotshot, so he's been playing really aggressively and getting into a lot of those fights as well. And that's going to be actually a really big key for them, because Moscow 5's playstyle is all about the jungle and about counter-jungling. And St. Vish is probably the second most aggressive jungler in the game, second to Diamond from Moscow 5, so we're going to see how those match up. These are 2 of the most aggressive junglers in the game, so that's going to be a very heavy matchup there. Alex, you know, such a really mechanically sound solo mid who seems to be able to push really well and get every last hit. And Big Fat, who's almost never died, you know, he's a very storied player as well. He's been, you know, in the initial CLG lineup as well.
And how do you see the bans going? I mean, we've obviously had many bans targeted towards Alex Ish before, but you've got to think of Big Fat LP. He's been with Zillion, I think it was 2 or 3 times they allowed him to have him, and he was just unstoppable. And obviously with Zillion, you get that really annoying ulti. You just think, I've got him, I've got it. Oh, no, he's back. And then he just zips away or something, or his team comes in to support him, which is obviously why he's got such awesome stats in the middle. And then, of course, the top lane. Darian versus Hotshot. I'm not sure how this one's going to set up, because I don't think Darian's going to allow Hotshot to just free farm, which effectively he did in the last few games. You know, he was just, especially when he was on that Shen, he was just literally, it was like, I'm just going to farm this lane. You guys go do your thing. I tell you what, I'm going to go down bottom, you go up top. I'll be fine.
Yeah, and Darian's the kind of player who does a lot of really cute things too. We saw him all the time at IEM Kiev and also a couple of games here. Well, he'll basically run summon or teleport and go like solo creep the lizard camp and then show up to lane with a red buff. And at that point, especially when he was playing Gangplank back then, you can play really, really aggressively there and kind of bully people around. Now, Hotshot, amazingly mechanically sound, really good at lane control, and I don't think he's going to get necessarily owned in this situation. But I think, you know, aside from him fighting Voyboy, you know, Dignitas Voyboy, and again, Dignitas was the only team to actually take a game off CLG so far. Those aggressive top laners that we're seeing, both with Darian and the aforementioned Dignitas player, those are the ones who seem to have the best chance against Hotshot here. So I do actually like the play style change that Darian's going to bring. I think Hotshot might be more mechanically sound, but that might not matter if he's out of his comfort zone.
No, indeed, yeah. So hopefully we're going to be ready to go shortly. This is a game that a lot of you guys have hoped for and waited for. The question is, who will join Dignitas in the final? Because Dignitas just played brilliantly. They, you know, and against Authorities, it's just like, well, we just got outplayed. There's not a lot we could do about that.
Sure.
They have looked really solid this round. Remember, they've already beaten CLG the very, very first game of the event that we covered, and what a first game it was.
and that's going to be really funny if the first game of the event
Is
was
the
actually
last
a
game.
preview of the finals, of course. Now, to be fair, that was the one time CLG ran a pretty much tournament unproven strategy with the Blitzer lane and the solo mid Urgot, and honestly, they were doing a pretty good job, except for the pretty much swap that lost them the game right there, where they swapped in Janna and, you know, got an instant 4v5. So if Big Fat LP can stop making mistakes, and again, that was the one map they ever lost. They're 6-1 so far in the tournament. You know, CLG are definitely able to do some amazing things. Of course, Moscow 5, you know, right now the sort of almost reigning, they're the reigning champions of IEM.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
they're the current first seed in League of Legends Season 2 in Europe. I mean, these are both just phenomenally strong teams.
But these are both teams that have got their faces on the wall somewhere about here. There's CLG and there's Moscow 5 just above you. So they are both champions at IEM. Obviously, Gamescom for CLG, Kiev very recently for Moscow 5. And Moscow 5, ironically, before Kiev, not a lot of people knew about them until they did the big empire against SK.
The Nunu Karthus combo with the Asher when they were in the brush. Yeah, if you haven't seen that, by the way, just YouTube search Empire. Probably put a bunch of exclamation points in there just for fun, and you'll see about a 43-second video there, and it's
one of those
great
videos that I watch back and think I could have done that a bit better.
But yeah, you know, it's the kind of thing where, you know, these teams, both of them really have really great teamwork, and Moscow 5, I think, even more so, sort of known for that, where you sort of look at like how they play their games, and you're not seeing like individual all-stars so much. You're seeing very much a team-wide effort, and you know, IEM Kiev, Diamond Prox got the I carried Kiev hoodie, and then we were talking to the players, and he's like, it's not any individual player, it's a team thing, and you have Darian and Alex, they're pushed their lanes, or if they're taking the blue and it's by the bottom lane, you know, they're showing up there as well with Genja and Gosu Pepper, and so, you know, it's very much a team effort, and Moscow 5 seem to be the most on the same page team in all of League of Legends. They have amazing coordination.
Yeah, and the coordination, again, against Authority, you just said, you know, it's actually amazing to watch them play sometimes, because, you know, you'll start the game when you'll suddenly be completely thrown because they've gone and changed the lanes, they've got some guy here, and actually we saw it with Dignitas, Locust going early on roaming, and we'll often see that with Moscow 5. I think it was Eholm the very first game, we saw 3 of them suddenly in the jungle over here. Next thing you know, they were level 2 dive in a tower, and then they're over back down the bottom, and then meanwhile the bottom lane's holding it quite happy, and they mix things up so much, and they are very good at doing it. The fact that they can switch the top lane, they can have an AP or a bruiser, you know, Darian is quite comfortable playing either of them, and when they do mix it up, they mix it up so well that they coordinate, even just switching between them, and that's really, I think, what's caught a lot of teams out, because, you know, you can prepare one sort of style of play and then they'll just completely change it on you.
Yeah, and that's always really viable there. And Hotshot actually, you know, you just talked about Darian. Hotshot kind of the same way. Knows a couple of choice mages as well as his standard bruiser lineup. So if you have these targeted Aurelia or Cho'Gath bands, you know, whips out Needly or Swain. I don't know if he knows Vladimir or Kennen that well. These are some of the sort of more traditional mage tops, but you know, they do have the lineup availability, you know, as well as the Blitzstar lane that we saw against Dignitas and the solo mid Urgot that Big Fat LP plays quite well. I think there's too many strategies that CLG has to get banned out. They can kind of do anything, and you know, we've seen some of these strategies sort of define tournaments where we saw at the IEM New York stop in the third place game against Cypher. Game 1 was a 60-minute brawl where basically Hotshot carried by himself with AP Needly, and then immediately was like Needly banned for game 2 and 3, and then we've almost not seen Needly banned at all against CLG this tournament yet.
It's because you nerfed him, man.
But I mean, it's not even changed enough to where that strategy doesn't exist anymore. We've seen them run that in scrims and online tournaments, and you know, this is just one of multiple strategies they have, whether it's the Blitzstar plus Urgot mid and Swain, or it's the Needly poke comp with I forget what the solo mid they usually run there, but they almost always run Trundle bottom, usually Trundle jungle, Caitlyn bottom. You know, they've got the Janna Vayne hyper late game style where, you know, Hotshot ran double gold for 10 and just scaled throughout the game. There's a lot of things here that CLG can run, and you know, I've basically seen 2 sort of different types here from Moscow 5. One's the double AP and one's with Bruiser Top, but they're always sort of like, yeah, we're going to play aggressively, we're going to win early, and we're just going to kind of crush on you. And I'm intrigued to see if there are different styles here that can mesh in different ways.
And let's talk about the bottom lanes, because we haven't really touched on Genja and the Gozu Pepper versus Chowster and Double F is the word I'm after. Yep. We saw Blitzstar in the first game. Do you think we're going to see something crazy again from these guys? I mean, I think they're probably going to maybe keep it a bit normal, but you never know. It might be the game to do it in.
I think, absolutely, I think any team that sort of loses game one, unless there was an obvious mistake like a Dignitas Fnatic or an SK against All Authority, where it's like, oh, we clearly threw that game and should have won with what we were doing before. If you see a game just sort of go out of control and there wasn't an obvious mistake, you're going to see one of the teams pull out something special. I think CLG, if they don't go with game one, they'll go with game two if they lose, which is the poke strat, which is the Nidalee and the Trundle and the Caitlyn. But you sort of talk about the bottom lane specifically, and honestly, there's a lot of varieties here. I think these guys have been playing a lot of different supports and a lot of different carries. I think Double F now is only duplicated a AP or an AD carry choice twice now. He's run Vayne twice and Ezreal twice, and every other time he's run something else across the 7 games they've played so far. And the same thing here for Moscow 5, where Genja was the first person we ever saw in competitive play run AD Kennen. Rumor has it he runs AD Ahri sometimes. So there's a giant sort of variety of roles here, and it's not like an Against All Authority where it's like, oh gee, they're going to grab Corki. Yep, they sure did.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued to see how it's going to play out here. Because there's no way I can predict that bottom lane there. I can predict some of the top lane picks. I can certainly predict Diamond procs with Lee Sin, Shyvana, and was it Gangplank or was it? I'm trying to remember the only 3 junglers he's ever played in IEM so far.
He's got to be Lee Sin, Shyvana, and Gangplank.
Yeah, it was Gangplank.
He was Gangplanking Kiev quite a lot, and then they suddenly went, oh, we're going to ban Gangplank, and that's how we're going to beat them. And then they were oh, actually, it probably should have been Shyvana.
Yeah, and those were pretty scary. And Darien as well has a really scary Gangplank. It's kind of funny, these guys sort of cross over their champions, and it's something we've even seen CLG do, where basically St. Vicious and Hotshot will just swap like 8 times the champion select and be like, and here's the lineup.
Yeah.
And actually Moscow 5 has that same sort of advantage to themselves as well. So looks like the players are asking if they're getting ready. CLG does say they are. Looks like Moscow 5 not quite ready to hop into their game, but we'll be going into this very, very shortly. The second semi-final match of the Intel Extreme Masters Global Championships.
So is that Team Curse watching there? There's quite a few people in and around this event. It is a pretty packed house already in here. Yeah. So as you would expect for CLG versus Moscow 5, it is going to be the big semi-final that we were hoping for. Dignitas for AA, I'm a little disappointed. I mean, Against All Authorities showed so much promise. The SK game, they were effectively dominant throughout the 3 matches, other than the one game which they pretty much through, and you know what, they were doing exactly like we said. They were just holding out, everybody spawn, okay, now we'll take it, and they didn't count on Candy Panda going, I'm going to steal this one, and actually turning the game very well. And it was a very good match, but Against All Authorities just, I don't know whether they just didn't wake up this morning. They had that 4-0 advantage. 2-0 bottom lane, and I was just amazed that Kitipai managed to win that lane out.
Yeah, I mean, despite the 2-0, Corki, who's got 700 free gold to start the lane out, managed to equal in minions against the 0-1 Corki.
Starting with the dodge blade as well.
Yeah, and they tried to last hits very well, and you saw sort of the pushes come in. Leona went in for the aggression there, and basically got picked up for a double kill there. Ezreal picking up the kill on Leona, and Skara playing Mordekaiser picking up the kill on the AD carry on that Corki, just by coming down to the bot lane, and it's like, well, geez, you're up so much gold and so much experience, and they couldn't hold on to it there. So, a lot of phenomenal play there, played by those players, and just sort of how they've been controlling these fights. It looks like finally, if I'm reading this right, looks like the players are getting closer to ready. And yes, we do have this game underway. Moscow 5 getting first pick and ban in this game. Alex Ish going to be the captain here. He's got 20 seconds left to pick his first ban.